The NBC investigators are looking at some sobering data that underscores what many advocates, experts, and even some law enforcement agencies have long believed.
Survivors of sex crimes rarely find justice through the American legal system. NBC10 investigator Corey Smith is here with a look at this statistic nationwide and right here in Boston. And Corey, the numbers are staggering.
They truly are, JC. An NBC News investigation has found that only a small number of violent sex crimes end in convictions. Boston fares better than other major cities, but only just. Tonight, we explore the why behind these numbers and what, if anything, can be done to hold more people accountable.
Behind these doors, countless tales of tragedy and trauma are told. It's here at the Boston Area Rape Crisis Center where survivors come in the aftermath of what is often described as the worst moment of their lives. Karen Dahl has heard scores of painful stories.
The original crime is of power and control. And so we really look for how can we empower people, give people some decision-making back.
As the senior director of legal advocacy, Dahl's one and only priority is the survivor. She's there to listen and help them decide what comes next.
What is this person ultimately looking for? Is it accountability? Is it safety?
For those survivors who want accountability and justice, the road through the legal system is pockmarked and winding, and often incomplete.
We know that there is a low likelihood that any individual case is going to be prosecuted. And there are people who make decisions on what they want to do based on knowing that.
The sobering reality for survivors of sex abuse in America is that the vast majority of them will never see their attacker convicted. NBC News reviewed thousands of police and court records from 16 law enforcement agencies across the country and found that overall, less than 4% of reported rapes, sexual assaults, child sex abuse, and other sex crime allegations in certain cities across the U.S. ever result in a conviction. In Boston, records we obtained show that over a 10-year period, beginning in 2013, survivors reported approximately 11,702 crimes of sexual violence. 607 of those cases ended in at least one guilty charge, meaning all told, approximately 5.8% of reported crimes of sexual violence in Suffolk County end in a conviction or guilty plea.
The number is not necessarily surprising, but there's so much more behind how that number is narrowed down to, just a little over 5% that people need to understand.
Beth Keeley is a former Suffolk County prosecutor, now in private practice. She says sex crimes cases are among the most difficult to bring to bear. From the evidence, which often rests on the shoulders of the survivor, to a lack of witnesses, or asking someone to relive their trauma in court.
It's tremendous for victims and survivors to have to sustain that over a period of time.
In a statement to the investigators, the DA's office said, quote, "We are constantly proud of the work our sexual assault unit prosecutors, victim witness advocates, and investigators perform for the residents of Suffolk County. Our conviction rate on sexual assault cases is above the national average, even though we never shy away from prosecuting tough cases in front of tough juries."
What you're focusing on as a prosecutor.
Keeley says most prosecutors strive to be victim informed rather than being conviction led. She says their role is to do what justice requires,
which sometimes is no prosing a case because the evidence is insufficient, or no prosing the case because the survivor is not in any condition to proceed to testimony at trial. And those are decisions that you want a prosecutor to make with integrity.
Somebody might see the statistic and say, okay, how do we improve that?
The idea of improving the rates, I think, making the system work better is something that we're all interested in and need to do.
Back at the Rape Crisis Center, Karen Dahl sees room for improvement as well.
I think there's a need to incorporate the voice of survivors and hear what they want through this process.
What makes you optimistic that these numbers can change?
The fact that you came here today to talk to me about this and are focusing on this as an issue, I think that's positive.
The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office provided its own data to the investigators related only to sexual assaults. According to the agency, nearly 3,000 cases went to court during that 10-year span. 670 resulted in convictions, which translates to about a 23% conviction rate. Of course, we want to take this time to remind you that if you or anyone you know is a victim of sex abuse, you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673. For the investigators, Corey Smith, NBC10 Boston.